Hello, welcome to October 23rd, I think it is, 2022. I'm Kurt, and this is my daily good life meditation video. This is Rudy. All right, I do this video every day to remember my life objectives and principles, and to see how I did applying those to the challenges and opportunities I encountered yesterday, and to plan for the coming day. And I also recount each and every one of the objectives and principles in categorical order. Let's begin. First, there's a strange sound. I hear a humming sound. I wonder where it's coming from. It's dark outside. It's about 4:20 a.m. right now. Slept good last night. Things are going well at work right now with my projects. That's a good reason. And then I had a good day of exercise. I was out in the outdoors, lots of sunshine, so I think that helped too. So slept up until the alarm. Just woke up a couple of times. It was a good day yesterday. I took the day off, and Yumiko encouraged me to go out and have some fun. So I took the old motorcycle, and I rode first to the cemetery in San Jacinto to visit the graves of my maternal grandparents, Benjamin Rothenberg and Alexandra Bremner Rothenberg. Excuse me while I sneeze. Pardon me. After which point I went to AAA and updated my insurance for the new address on the new place. And then I went to I rode my motorcycle to Julian, which is a little community up in the mountains in San Diego County, and I got apple pie for my wife and I, and another pie for my brother and his family. And then I rode the motorcycle out to my brother's house, had a nice visit with the family, dropped off the pie, and then came home, had a nice dinner with Yumiko, and we had our pie, and I went to bed. It was a good day. In terms of challenges and opportunities, the main challenge, that I faced, a little bit of allergies now. The main challenge that I faced was the challenge of imagining the worst. This has been a constant problem for me when maybe it's not a problem so much as a reality, a mature adult reality. My motorcycle is old, and it's a good motorcycle. It runs very well, but it breaks down on occasion. And I don't like to be more than 100 miles away from my mechanic's place. That's Leor's Moto Ride in Corona. And as I was getting farther and farther, I was thinking, what if I break down? What if I break down? What's going to happen? How am I going to get the bike there? How am I going to be stuck by the side of the road? Do I have enough water? All those thoughts that just inhibit us from, having fun. I mean, it's true, it's important to think about those things, but I have insurance. I have 100-mile special, 100-mile tow insurance, and I can pay extra if I need to. I expect the bike to go down, and I have a special bank account that I have set up that money goes into every month, automatically flows into, just for that reason, just to handle the unexpected things that happen in life, like a motorcycle breakdown and a tow. I'm ready for that stuff. So why do I worry? So I fretted with that, and as I rode, I asked myself, why are you, Kurt, why are you bringing this up? You make extra effort to make sure you don't have to worry about this. But it didn't work so well. I need my fuel. Today's going to be a busy day. But I'll get to that in a minute. Let's do the Good Life Creed. First, I have 7 objectives. I really should. Oh, I found a copy of the book. It was in my motorcycle saddlebag. I forgot it was there, so I could actually have that if I need to refer to it. Where did it go? Hold on, I think I need to refer to it. And yesterday I noticed that the mic, I was watching a little bit of the video after. This wireless mic wasn't working yesterday when I stepped away, far away from the camera. It got muffled. That shouldn't have been the case. Here it is. Come on, Rudy. This big, dark, echoey, empty house. There we go. So I found this in the saddlebag. It's an older version, but I think for the most part it's just about got everything in there. So the first of my objectives is to be always ready to die, to have my life in a good place where I can pass away and my affairs are in the best order that I could make them for going away. And my relationships are sound and solid and in good condition. And my life's work is in a good place. As for my affairs, they are, and even more so now because I took care of the insurance yesterday. And my relationships are fine. And my life's work, especially because I went and had a good afternoon with Lyle's family. That was really nice. My life's work going alone is done. This isn't the done copy. This is one of the older versions, but it's close enough. So there's that. Yeah, I'm ready to die. I don't want to die, but I'm ready to die. Okay. Don't want to die, but I'm ready to die. That'd make a good title. I wonder if I can remember that by the end. Probably not. I don't have my little marker board. I should bring that down here. 2, to make good and effective use of my time. To not waste my days. Not spend my days sitting on this dang sofa. I probably spend less than 40 minutes a day on the sofa. I am normally doing stuff. Now, that doesn't mean that sitting on a sofa is necessarily a bad use of time. I just simply would not consider it a good use of my time. I would rather use my time to be reading or writing, to be communicating, to walking, thinking, other things. And again, I'm not disparaging the people that sit on the sofa. I'm just indicating that's not how I want to live. 3, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. That's these 7 objectives and 32 principles that I'm working on right now. And I do that by holding each up, looking at it from side to side a little bit today. And then I'll look at it again tomorrow. And sometimes what I say, what's coming out of my mouth is by rote. Some of the things I say are exactly the same that I said yesterday and exactly the same that I'll say tomorrow. I try to pull myself out of those conventions into a more deliberate and considered way of thinking. That's a jet, I think. That's that sound. I think there's an Air Force base nearby, Air Force Reserve. I think that's a jet plane going over, like a fighter jet. Although I can still hear it. 4, to cultivate good emotional reactions, to react well to the circumstances. Now, there's 2 layers for that. There's the inner reaction and the outer exterior view that people see how I react. And typically it's the inner one that gets me. I have lesser control over it, kind of ambushes me, right? A sudden panic like that can occur that then trickles out and manifests itself in my outer disposition and appearance. The trick to be able to catch the first one and manage that. I'm pretty good at managing the exterior one now. I don't panic often, or at least I don't visibly panic often. Yeah. So I guess that's a good measure of it, and that also helps to address one of my principles that I'll talk about later, called the Feast of Woeful, which is the upset that comes when we blow up into the world. Next is to perform good actions, just to do good things throughout the day to help build what I call the virtuous city, or the good city, the just city, whatever you want to call it, right? The city that is a reflection of the life that we are, a life and community that we're trying to build through our deliberate efforts and deliberate efforts to live well. Next is to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities, to see what is possible for me to do and what is not. And I had an interesting talk with my brother's kids yesterday. We were talking about climbing the corporate ladder, and we were telling them, they telling them how both Lyle and I prefer not to climb very high. Waiting for a monster to pop up behind me. Because our scope of responsibility expands accordingly. Although some people are well suited and interested even in having that scope of responsibility. Not me, not my brother. For myself, it's because I have my own things that I want to attend to, namely my mission, right? So the more responsibility and scope that I have of work, for example, because I demand and require myself that I do a good job, then the less time I'll have to do this. So recognizing that and then managing that is helpful. Also, another thing that's helpful is, like, for example, this big, giant, enormous house, is 5 bedrooms, good God, plus all this airy space. It's a scope of control that I don't need. Neither of us do, Amy or I. So the place we're headed to now, which we'll probably go to today in Huntington Beach, is much more manageable. Next is to recognize last one is to do just one thing at a time, and to do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully, to not multitask, and to be measured in all things. It's taken a long time to get here. I wasn't like this 10 years ago. I did not speak as well or deliberately. And I wasn't really aware of the concept of prudence, which is the ability to push through a filter what is coming out of us, push it through the filter of our values, so that what comes out is in alignment with what we believe. This is the thing that prevents me from, for example, gossiping or spreading rumors, because I exercise prudence. So yeah, that's a very important one, that last objective, to do one thing at a time, slowly and deliberately. Okay, those are my 7 objectives, which, as I mentioned, are in the book, Going Alone. Going Alone is the vehicle by which I develop and then deliver the Good Life Creed. So it's about 2/3 of the way through the book. You'll find a chapter called The Good Life, where I go over these things. Next, 32 principles. The first of these is the principle of war. To be someone who fights against propositions of truth, who doesn't rest my hat on easy answers, but requires answers to demonstrate that they have legs and to show me that they can walk or even run. And if they can't, if they're being upheld or supported by my imagination, my wishful thinking, or just whimsy, which is what we do when we engage in superstition, then I'll let those things go. I do that for the things that I already believe are true, and I do that for the things I want to onboard, and particularly for the things that other people bring to me, offering them as truth, like ideas of God. When someone comes to me and said, "Kurt, did you know that there's a God, and that God loves you and has a plan for you?" I'm very interested in what they have to say. We're going to need to talk about it, though. You'll need to demonstrate some reason besides faith or prophecy or anecdote, wishful thinking, your own personal testimony. Those things aren't good enough. Something better has to do. Extraordinary claims do require extraordinary evidence. I won't demand the same if you tell me that you found a $5 bill on the ground. I'll believe you about that. Two, the principle of reason and the sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, doubt, and humiliation. I mentioned war. What tool, what instrument do I use in that war? It be reason. And namely, a dedication to being honest with myself and others, especially when I'm examining propositions of truth. Objective in looking at many sides. a fierce skeptic who doubts what I hear, and then someone who is willing to embrace, even if it's not comfortable, embrace the humiliation of discovering when I'm wrong. Next is the homunculus, the suggestion of a little man who lives inside my head, right behind my forehead. He's like not right behind the eyes. You can probably feel it too. It feels like it's right behind the forehead, right about up there. I don't think we have a soul. I don't think there's anything in us that lasts as us forever. I mean, our molecules, atoms, and the energy of which we're composed in will carry on, but in various forms, but not us. But we do have a little consciousness that we get for the time of our life. I focus on that. Very fleeting, soon gone, and never coming back, so it seems. Next comes the Anchorhold, a funny name. It comes from the old tradition in Europe of dedicated parishioners walling themselves into a church, into the side of a church, kind of like I like to say like a male anglerfish, how they burrow themselves into the side of the female. You know, the male anglerfish are little tiny things, and females are big, and the males will burrow themselves into the female, and they'll look like a little appendage sticking out. Likewise, the anchorite or anchoress would burrow themselves, would have them walled into the side of a church with a little structure, a little hole in the side called a squint that they could peek through and watch the service. And then food could be pushed in and waste pushed out, and they would live their lives in this kind of dedication to their God, by being literally attached to the church. I see ourselves similarly. Goodness, excuse me, trapped. But our vista is not the squint of the service in the church. Our vista is the great indifference, the apparent emptiness of the universe, a universe without God. That we tend to mask our consciousness from seeing. A lot of us do, at least. We cover our eyes and cover our ears and go blah, 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 while we're sitting on a little rock sticking out of the sea with a vast universe unfolding around us. Theater of the cosmos. And instead of looking at that and saying, wow, crap, I'm alone. I'm going to die on this rock. And I'll slip into the sea and that'll be the end of me. We tell ourselves about family and love and sports and friends and holidays and gossip and rumor, politics and religion and God. And that gets us by. It's a way. It's not the way I want to live my life, though. I want to see the show. I want to see the reality, even if it be a horror show. Next comes purpose. There are 3 purposes in my life. No, I got ahead of myself, didn't I? I jumped over one. I need to go slower. The next one is called the home of good and evil. Good and evil, right and wrong. They don't exist out there. I was just out in the desert. You won't find any good or evil out there in the dark. It's in here. Well, actually in here. It's an idea. Good and evil, right and wrong are mere opinions. Subjective at that. They only become objective if we can ground them in something like, the fact that depriving yourself of water for more than 72 hours will probably have detrimental effects on your well-being. That's objective. And the subjective part, though, is deciding that well-being is important. So usually, if we trace any concept of right and wrong, good or evil, back far enough, we'll find a subjective opinion lying at the heart of it somewhere. Hear the geese? You hear them. Quack, quack, quack. Well, honk, honk, honk. You hear that? He's got to be careful when he goes outside because there's a big old owl that lives on our roof. And I know you're a pretty big and fierce dog, but I wouldn't want the owl to take a swipe at you. Okay, now comes the next principle, which is purpose. For me, I've identified 3 purpose in my life. The first of these is the purpose of, I call it biology. I simply refer to the mandate. I think this is the only one that's like an absolute of sorts, at least an absolute within our biological frame, which is to reproduce, make copies of ourselves, children, raise them to adulthood, and then once they're on their own and able to support themselves, step the hell out of the way, and then eventually, be there for help out as best we can, and then eventually die and be gone forever and leaving whatever we got left, whatever we accumulated along the way, which in my case won't be much for Emily, much other than ideas, I think. I call that the sub-principle of biology. And I've done that, right? I've largely, for me, this is my own meditation, I've got my daughter raised. She's, junior, halfway through her junior year in college, in university, and, on her way, studying real stuff to become a real businesswoman, I guess. Then comes the second sub-principle is of virtue. I value virtue because virtue to me is the thing that leads to the better city. And what is virtue? I define virtue as the improvement, anything that improves the well-being of thinking creatures that can suffer and enjoy life. I want them to have more enjoyment than suffering, and not at the expense of others. So I pursue that. How do I pursue that? I pursue that by instantiating these principles and objectives into my mind, into a framework of active living. I do this by reciting these each and every day, writing a whole darn book about it, thinking about it, talking about it, living it in a day-to-day basis. Bit by bit, little by little, it becomes part and parcel of who I am. I hardly even need to think about it anymore. And after I published the book in end of 2017, I thought it was 2018, and then I recently looked it up, and it says it's 2017. So it was the end of 2017. See, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. It's almost the end of 22. So it's going on 5 years of working on this every single day, talking about this out loud, working on these principles and objectives, which started out as 5, and now are 39 total objectives and principles. Anyway, long-winded. The next principle is the principle of nature. No, atomic principle. The suggestion that everything is rendered to atoms and molecules and energy. So to us, so to him and everything. And that we all go back to that pretty quick, because our lives are over very quickly. Then comes the principle of nature. I'm saying 2 because it's really I think it's number 7. Everything has some particular nature, including myself, Rudy, Ollie sitting right over here. There's a nature to this book even. It's a certain size and weight and heft. It feels good. It's a little over 300 pages. It's a good size, good heft. That's part of its nature. Of course, it's subjective interpretation on my part. It's the nature of this house to echo. It's the nature of a Saturday to be kind of full of promise, a little bit peaceful, which is today. Next comes the pirate ride. I don't think we have free will. I think it's just a really convincing illusion that we have developed as part and parcel of what we are. I think what it does is that it instills upon us a sense of importance and responsibility and ownership for the decisions and actions that we make, which is a good thing. But I think we're being fooled by ourselves. It's not necessarily that I think that anybody else has the will either. I think we are like an unfolding chain of very complex chemical reactions. And everything we do, just like a chemical reaction, follows a pattern based on the influences and forces that are acting upon it from all around. Likewise us. I can't quite stop myself from thinking that I have free will. I think it's because it's part of, like I said, it's part of who we are. But I'm very suspicious it's not the case. And I kind of don't want to give it up, because then what would life be like if we didn't think we had free will? If we really truly convinced ourselves that wasn't the case, would I just remain on this sofa all day and watch retro reruns? I don't know. Don't know. Don't know that it's an experiment we can do. But I do think the same holds for him and you and everything around us, all sentient life. None of us are free. We are compatible with the universe around us. We have no choice. Next comes maturity, the principle of maturity, and the sub-principles of wisdom, fortitude, and integrity. We are mature when we wisely remember our past successes and failures and do better in the future. Use fortitude to hold us to a more deliberate and straight path. And the result, the benefit of all of that, the gumball out of the candy machine, is a life of integrity, where our results, our end results in life, are in accordance and match our values. That really is the goal of living this active, good life. Next comes, see, this is where I get a little messed up. I can look at the book. See, it's all in here. This feels like a pretty old copy. Oh, yeah. That's not it. It's okay. The social principle. We're social creatures. We need each other. And our best ends are social ends. And the sub-principles there are diplomacy, justice, and conspiracy. Excuse me. Diplomacy, because we have to work together to be kind of like diplomatic ends, to reach agreement. I got dog hair. About what constitutes the better city. And then justice is what we're seeking in creating institutions and actions and laws that will help to build that better city. And then conspiracy is what we do when we link arms together to make that happen. And then next comes public speaking, the ability to communicate well. I had an interesting talk with Parker and Allie last night, my niece and nephew, with my brother about that. We were talking about the value of college education, and Lyle brought up the importance of studying communication. That the kind of like the monkey wrench of the liberal arts. Whatever you do in life, you'll do it better if you can talk well, speak well, write well. I do agree. There are, I think, 3 or 4 sub-principles here. Best words, being able to have a rich, deep vocabulary. Every time I encounter a new word in my reading, I highlight it, and then I look it up, and then I write a social post. I didn't do that when I was young, before social media. I just highlighted it, and then I would look it up but there wasn't even an internet. I look it up in the dictionary, and I used to have a dictionary, big red Merriam-Webster dictionary. It had all kinds of marks in it. I wish I had that still. No, I don't. I alerted him, right? What, Dad, you're going to get more stuff? No, I'm going to avoid that. Get an electric bike. That'll be maybe it. Because I got to have the right vehicle for our new home in Huntington Beach. Maybe Yumiko and I will go shopping for electric bikes today. That'll be fun. The other part of good speaking is prudence. No, not prudence. Yes, that's it. Prudence. Prudence is I feel like I've already covered that one. Maybe it was yesterday. Prudence is like I said, I think I did cover it before. It's the filter that we press our actions and our words through that come up to make sure that they're in line with our principles. It's having a filter of prudence on board that helps us to say things, to avoid saying things that we later regret. And then this leads, if you have a good rich vocabulary, lots of reading under your belt, the filter of prudence, you wind up, and lots of practice talking, lots and lots of practice talking, you'll wind up being an eloquent speaker, someone who can communicate well, who can use their words very deftly and acutely, accurately. What the hell, acute? It is kind of, it feels like, it's so funny. It's like there's a little person, like a little word engine. It feels like it's right about back here. That keeps throwing these words up and saying, here, try this. Acute. Okay, it's that prudence, right? Acute, it's acutely. And then the homunculus up here is going, what the hell? Acute? Do you even know what that means? It's funny though, that, if I usually look the word up, I'll sometimes do that. I'll throw out a word, not quite fully confident of its meaning. If I look it up, I'll usually have discovered, if not the primary meaning, there's usually a secondary or a tertiary meaning that actually is in alignment with what I was saying. And I surprise myself and I go, oh yeah, that little wordsmith behind the back of my head actually did a good job. It's pretty rare that it throws me a false ball, but acute might be a false, because I think acute means intense. What would it be cute? I think we think of acute in terms of like being ill, but I think it could be like intense or focused. That could apply to speaking as well. Intent and focused. Yeah. And deliberate. Now you're getting some paid hurt there. Good. Okay, so and then last part of that is, there's two sub-principles that are negatives, rumor and gossip. I don't want to engage in those. Those are bad things. They are actually, I categorize rumor and gossip as sins, where rumor is simply sharing news that is unsubstantiated, fake news maybe. And gossip is talking about others behind their backs in such a way that you would be embarrassed and humiliated were you to learn that they actually were overhearing what you said, what I said. So I don't want to do either of those things. No rumor, no gossip. I'd rather be silent. I think the next one is distraction and agency in the great indifference. No, it's not. What? No, I guess not. The next one is, no, this is just an old book. I really can't trust this one. This one's got old structures. I think it is distraction and then agency and the great indifference. Maybe it is the other one, but anyway, it's messed up. Let's go with that. Distraction. I think I talked about that already. We spend our lives distracting ourselves. The homunculus. La, 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 la. I don't want to see all these things. I'll keep myself distracted with work and play and family and sports, etc. So we don't have to see the emptiness of the universe, which I call the great indifference. There, covered those two. Now I've got 5 principles that I can treat as one. And these are temperance, life will not go well, the horror show, that which must be born, and the feast of woeful. Taken together, we talk about becoming a man or woman who can control my consumption of life, how much I work or play, how much I sit on the sofa, how much TV I watch, how much popcorn I eat, coffee I drink, everything, literally everything. By becoming a person that can control my consumption, I then exercise self-control, and I have that at my disposal to live a better life, especially when things go tough, which is life will not go well, and it won't. Things are going to happen along the way that are going to be bad, nasty, terrible, painful, fattening, or corrupt. And I'm going to spot those to the best of my ability and intercede through using my active will and my fortitude and temperance. Sometimes life just won't go well. It'll be downright horrible. Diagnosis of stage 4 cancer, auto wreck, burning down the house, or a house burning down, pet getting sick and needing to be put down, myself getting sick and needing to be put down, on and on and on. children starving to death in other parts of the world, somewhere else, or maybe even here. You can just go on and on and on. Horror of the gravest, most awful stuff happening all around us. And it will happen to us if it's not already happening to you right now or me. It's not happening to me right now. I don't have anything of that level of that caliber in my life right now. But it will. It's coming. And I've done my best to prepare for that. I know it's not absolute. I can refer to my Stoic principles when I imagine that or when it comes. But I'm not well tested in horror. I don't know how well I'll do. We'll have to see. Anyway, life will not go well. And then the next one, part of that, this is the fourth of the fifth, is that which must be born with an E at the end, carried. And what I have to bear is the fact of the horror show and the life will not go well. I have to bear it. You have to bear it. We have to bear it. It's part of our adult responsibility, right? He doesn't have to bear it so much. He's got me to bear it for him. And then next is the last part of that is the Feast of Offal, which happens when we get upset and we blow up into the world and, gosh darn the gosh dang, all these people, these things, I wish people would just leave me alone and be more reasonable. Why does it have to happen? And it's a Monday and the price of gas and politics, and you see what I mean? It's not a very healthy thing. I already feel just that little bit of a feign exercise. I feel my blood pressure rising. I see a fluster over my face. I don't want to do that stuff, right? I call it the Feast of Offal because offal is the stuff that when a butcher prepares cuts of meat, there's always leftovers, skin and hair and toes and eyeballs and stuff. And what do you do with it? That's the offal. Offel, I think, or Al, can't remember. Usually they'll grind it up and make sausages, right? That's what a butcher will do with that. At least not the hard parts, not the bone and the hooves and the teeth, or maybe that too sometimes. But anyway, the Feast of Offal, our offal is the waste and byproduct of our intemperate, non-considered or deliberated living. The living that we do off the seat of our pants, where we have messy stuff all about us, waste and byproduct, right? We didn't trim off the fat, but instead are just covered in this stuff. And we get upset because things don't go well and we don't have good principles to manage that factor, to be able to address that or live with it or live with ourselves. And we throw it into the world. And sadly, the people that suffer the most are the people closest to us, our loved ones, our family, and our friends, who have to watch us be upset and blow up. It's funny, we don't typically do that at work in front of strangers, but we will show to the people most important to us our nastiest side. That's the Feast of Offal. I try not to do that. I used to do that. A decade ago, I was more vulnerable to that. That's pretty rare that ever even comes close anymore. We can manage that by good, deliberate living, developing principles that allow us to have temperance at the ready, fortitude right beside us, a will and a strength to bear the fact that life will not go well, to bear even maybe the effect of the horror show. This puts us in that position to be better able to weather life. Good, I made it through the 5er. Next, what is next? Well, according to the book, I think it said distraction is next, but I did that one already. Now maybe I did that out of order. Let's take a look. See, there's the chapter here called The Good Life. It lays that out. And this is, my daughter made this art. It says, nothing is enough. It's a rock in the desert with nothing is enough. Good job, Emily. It's part of my book, Going Alone, which I referenced a couple of times, but I didn't tell you about. It's the story of how I spent the first 5 decades of my life living and trying to figure out a code that I could live by. Because I don't subscribe or believe in any God or afterlife, so I can't necessarily be a part of a church and adopt any Ten Commandments or any code in particular as my own. I can turn to philosophy, and I have, and there are a lot of philosophical principles, if not deliberately illustrated here, at least in feeling and theory. Their spirit, that's the word, is there. The next one is after. Oh, okay, I did those two. The next one is the best seat in the house. I do not want to be anyone else, be anywhere else, or be doing anything else, but to be okay right here, right what I'm doing, and right who I am. Even when it's a pretty pleasant seat to be in right now with little Rudy, but even if it's not such a pleasant place, to be all right with that too, all the while striving to do better and be better and behave better. Be better, be someplace better. And be happening better? What the hell is that? Okay, there's three axes. Who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Next is oh yeah. Boy, I shouldn't even refer to this. It's so old. It's got me all messed up. It's got really. This is buried in my bike. That's why the principles are messed up. I look at them and it's getting me all messed up in terms of where I am. Oh boy, yeah. Okay, I think I can do this. The next one is threefer. The Restless Man, The Path of Wildness, and The Great Life Adventure. The Restless Man speaks to the idea that when we're young, many of us feel kind of a restlessness about wanting something more out of life. And we might be have to counter that with a fear about doing anything about that, because it's scary to do anything about that. Because what if there's problems? Like me riding on a motorcycle far away from home. What if there's problems? So we talk ourselves out of it. But watch out if you talk yourself out of it at a young age and then never do it. The voice continues to haunt you all your life. I wanted to have that adventure. I didn't do it. And it gets harder. And we might tell ourselves, I'll do it after I retire, and I'll be nice and safe, and I won't have to work, and I'll have money in the bank, and a house to come to, and a warm forever. What? It won't do. Not likely, at least. If it does, I think we're largely fooling ourselves. That restlessness is best attended to when we're young and broke and innocent and dumb and reckless and able to make mistakes and weather them and recover from them, because we've got eternity ahead of us. When we're 25 years old, death and retirement and old age are an impossible eternity away. We can recover from anything except death. But you know what? Even dying on the course of a great life adventure at the age of 25 is a fine death. It's a really, really worthwhile thing to do. So my recommendation is to get to college, get that bachelor's degree. That's going to serve you well all your life. If you can study something in particular, that's great. But maybe consider a minor in speech communication, so you have that foundation of good speaking and writing that will help you all your life, and read a lot. And then when you're 25, 26, 24, whatever, something about that age, get your diploma, your bachelor's of science, bachelor's of arts, whatever. Come home, give it to mom and dad, or put it someplace safe, and off you go. Don't come back until you're 30. Just give yourself the world. You'll be making an investment that will pay dividends the rest of your life. Because it's going to get hard. Things are really going to get hard sometimes. Not horror show level necessarily, although maybe that too. And when you've satisfied the need and the want and the desire of a great life adventure at a young age, at least that won't be haunting you. Maybe you'll want to do it again, but it'll be like wanting to go back to a nice beach where you had a great summer day. It's not that you never went. It's just that you have a good memory. It's much easier to live with ourselves with a good memory than a desire never fulfilled or acted upon. So watch out. Now, not all people are driven by that. A lot of people don't seem to have a need or want or a desire for a great life adventure, and lucky them, maybe. Or maybe not. Those people could be satisfied with a motorhome adventure at age 62, 65, 67. Whatever the cruise ship, whatever it is, package deal, tour of London. There's a lot of people that are quite happy with that. I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to the others. I'm talking to those that would want to go someplace like that, alone, without a guide, without a map or a plan, and see what's to be seen, experience what's to be experienced. If that's you, then do it. Do it the sooner the better. So I think I covered 3 there, but I didn't really talk about the last 2 there. So there's the restless man. I talked about that a lot. The path of wildness, which is a way to get off of a current life, to start towards a new and deliberate life, a life headed towards a great life adventure. Yumiko and I are on the path of wildness right now. We're getting rid of this life. We're bringing this life to an end, this big house here. We're bringing our parental years to an end, our active parenting a child years to an end. Our daughter is an adult now, practically on her own, practically done with university. We're on the path. I like to say that the path of wildness, it's easy to find. It's the course of a stream, leaves blown in the wind, a beast's track through the brush, and the direction of our first inclination. The great life adventure, the last of those 3, is the thing that we wind up with, as a result of stepping upon the path, heeding that restless nature, and giving ourselves an experience and a journey that results in our own story. Like going alone is my story. It's the result of my great life adventure. What's going to be the result of your great life adventure? Are you even going to have a great life adventure? And you might be thinking, gosh, Kurt, but I didn't do it. I waited too long. Now I'm 35 years old and I've got a kid or 2 and a job and responsibility and et cetera, et cetera. It's still not too late. It's the weight of responsibility isn't the thing. It's the timing, right? It's too late after roughly age 50 or so, 55 maybe 52-ish, somewhere between 50 and 55. You cross the threshold where you can't do it. It's too late. You just have to kind of live with that fact. So, like being an amputee, right? You don't have that leg and it ain't coming back. But if you're only 35, you can still do it. But how? I wanted to pack across Europe for a summer. Well, you can't do that, clearly. But you can do other things, and I'll leave it up to you to formulate options. My own parents did it at roughly that age by selling their house and quit. My dad quit his job in the aerospace industry, and we bought a motorhome, and they took the kids, and we went on the road for a summer. Had an adventure we called the Odyssey that really became a cornerstone of my life. Now, yeah, both parents agreed to that. And you might be saying, Kurt, but my spouse would never agree to what I want to do. Okay, well then you have to live with that. Okay, you got yourself into that situation, didn't you? So young people, be careful about how we make our choices, make choices about the person we want to spend our life with. Still, it doesn't mean that it's not completely reasonable that you couldn't take, for example, a Saturday or a Sunday to yourself once a month or once every 2 months to go have some adventure. Yeah, will it feel the same? Probably not. Would it comfort you to know that that's the option that I chose? I am not, even though I wrote a book called Going Alone, and I sit here and I tell young people to take that 5 years between 25 and 30 to themselves. I am not someone who did that. I am you. I am that person at 35 who put a ring on it, got myself a kid, got myself a job that I didn't like and was not very happy. What did I do about it? Well, I had a deliberate talk with my wife, and I said, hey, um, I've got this thing inside me that's like this longing, yearning thing. And she knew about it. My wife knew about that. And I need to do something about that. And I would like to go every other Sunday. I would like to go off by my own and have an adventure, a mini adventure. And she said, okay. Now, that's not a lot to ask. There's plenty of men and women who do that. I mean, there's women that will go have a spa day with the girls. And there's guys that will go out and golf for an entire Sunday. These are totally reasonable things to allow ourselves. You maybe just want to go do something else. Maybe go hike in the mountains by yourself or go, whatever the hell it is. For me, it was hiking in the mountains of Japan initially. I did it even before that. I did it here in the United States. This is before the internet. I would go to the desert, in fact, the same place pictured on the book, but I wasn't ready for going alone just yet at that point. You can do that. It's not unreasonable. Have a talk with your spouse. Tell them you need to do that. Show them this video, perhaps. Maybe show them the book and say, hey, I want to kind of do like what this guy did, which is in bits and pieces, he satisfied this kind of an internal longing that some of us seem to have, and it kind of did the trick, and it made him a happier guy, and as a result, a better husband who worked hard and took care of his family, provided a home, so to speak. It's always been a rental, but managed himself towards having a retirement for he and his wife, and got his daughter grown, and his dog's happy. It can be done. You can have both. Now, if your spouse is not going to allow any of that, then I don't know what I can do to help you. But hopefully your spouse is reasonable enough. Or maybe if you're really lucky, maybe they'll even want to join you. Although maybe that might be beside the point. And if they ask about that, why do you want to do this alone? And just tell them it's not because I'm sneaking off to go what was that ranch called in the Las Vegas area with all the hookers. It's not like I'm going off to some hooker lounge somewhere. I'm going off to do like a hike or something like that, and I need to do it by myself to clear my thought. It doesn't mean I don't love you. I just need to see the we don't say that. That'll sound weird. See the emptiness, but just I need time with myself. That's fine too. Again, if that's not fine with them, then maybe there's ways that can be helped. Maybe a little counseling together to help work through that. I don't know. I hope this is an opportunity, right? You can leverage it. You can still have it. It's a matter of age, not a matter of responsibility necessarily. Although we have to be very careful, going back to people even younger, be very careful who you select to wear your ring with. Make sure they share the same core values. That's going to be the key. That'll get you through. It doesn't matter if you have the same hobbies. Although it could be fun to share the same hobbies and go to the same cons every year. Comic Con, Horror Con, whatever. Doggy Con. Okay, so I think I got through that. The next one is... excuse me, I'm going to sneeze again. Oh, pardon me. Is it the risk of avoiding risk? I think so. There's the deep level risk of not spending some time to find ourselves in life. That's the thing I recommend attending to in our mid to late 20s. And then there's the surface level risk. These are the things that everyone is encouraged to attend to. These are things like getting a good education. This is the foundation of our career that we start. And then creating a family, finding someone to spend our life with and creating a family, and then a home, and then preparing for our old age so we don't have to work for forever and ever. Taking all that together, these things are the surface level risks of life. Why do I call them surface level? Because they're relatively easy to attend to, relative to the deep risk. Why are they easy? Well, because society is set up for that. Our parents encourage us to go to school. We are then able to find a job. Corporations are set up to hire people. Banks give loans to buy a house. We are social creatures that do dating to find a spouse to spend our life with. Hospitals are for giving birth to children, at least in the maternity section. And 401ks and pensions are set up to help us in Social Security, if you're in America, or whatever form you have in your country, are set up to provide that security in our old age. It's easy to focus on just those 5 at the top. Excuse me, that's so gross. I've got little allergies. It's easy to focus on those and to forget about attending to the deep risk. Again, coming back to what I said before, the restless man, the deep risk is heeding the voice of the restless man or the restless woman inside of us. He's going to lift his paw up. Or have you had enough? He's a needy little boy. Okay, the next is sin and damnation. There are 3 broad categories of sin in my worldview. These are sin related to being untrue, being a liar, or being false in some way. Believing things that may be untrue, being a fool, and then being a rumor mongering gossip. We'll combine them together. Maybe it's 4. It really is 3 things. It's being untrue, believing things that are untrue, and behaving in such a ways that are reprehensible. Hear that goose quacking out there? Maybe that's that big old duck. There's the biggest duck in the world, at least the biggest part of the biggest species of duck in the world. I can't remember what it's called. Lives out there. It's one big specimen. It's a giant thing with a red head. Yeah, I think that might be him quacking out there. I call him Quackers in honor of a toy that Emily had when she was little. Those 3 categories of sin are further identified with 7 particulars. These are falsity, being untrue, being a liar; credulity, believing things too readily, being a gullible fool; faith, believing things where we use the fact that we believe as the evidence for the belief, which is nonsense, right? It's like a snake eating its own tail. It doesn't result in anything. It's just a comforting feeling where I don't have to provide any evidence other than the fact that I believe. Somehow faith has become confounded with a virtue in our society, at least in Western society, where we think faith, if we can just use faith, then we're virtuous human beings when we haven't actually done the hard work of demonstrating that what we want to think is true actually is. Superstition, believing things that are categorically nonsense. Dogma, believing things based on the fact that there's a long canonical tradition or even a big book that serves as the foundation for what we want to believe. Authority, believing things because there's a great institution that includes people who seem to have a lot of charisma and seem to know what they're talking about, and look at that interesting costume that they wear and that funny hat and all the rituals that they do on Sunday. Let's bow, get on our knees and say grace and sing some songs. It's not a good reason to believe either. Dogma and authority come together, kind of represent those institutions. There's actually 2 more. Rumor, trading in rumor, like I said before, and gossip, being a damn gossip. The result of these 7 sins is damnation in the here and now. We are damned liars, damned fools, damned rumor traders, and damned gossips. So I don't want to, damned in the here and now, like I said, right? I mean, I don't think there's any afterlife, so it's not like, St. Peter or God are going to, you were a liar, off you go to hell. I don't think any of that's going to happen. But we do have to live now, and we have to live being damned for our actions. Okay, now the next one is the complete oblivion. After we're dead, there'll be nothing to follow. no afterlife. At least I don't think so. No good reason to think that that's the case at all. The concept of a soul is the most worn out idea in theology. There's absolutely no reason to think there's any piece of us that survives our death, or anything that's non-substantive that besides the actual energy within us, which is just energy. There's no reason to think that our consciousness is anyway wrapped up in it. And our material, our cells, which consist of molecules and atoms. That's all that's going to last. So when we're dead, it's going to be the end of us. We're not going to see Aunt Flo in an afterlife. We're not going to see Grandma again. We're not going to see our dead family members ever again. There'll be no happy reunion, no chance to make up, and no justice delivered by any just lawgiver in an afterlife. These are all just fantasies. And you might say, wow, that's a bummer. Well, maybe, depends on your perspective. It's a bummer if you don't want to do the hard work of seeking after those things now, but I do. So I'm like, well, okay, if I'm not going to have a chance to see anyone afterwards, or be a better person, or see justice given out by God, then I better to help to build the better city now in the ways that I can, through the principles of reason and war and all the rest. Next comes the bullseye aim. Trying to hit the bullseye mark. Bam, right there. See, it's hard to hit. But usually, when I throw the dart of my actions, I miss. A little maybe over here, right there. Sometimes I throw it, it misses the dartboard altogether, off into space beyond. That's the reality. That's just the way it is. Life will not go well. It kind of harkens back to that principle. That duck is right outside the wall. Kind of sounds like a frog too, but I'm pretty sure it's the duck. Anyway, quack, quack. Then comes the uphill climb. Today I want to finish the day higher. Not that kind of high. Higher in terms of more experience, more effort, more maturity than I was yesterday. Life is a climb, up, up, up every single day. Spending on an hour doing this right now does a lot towards that aim, towards that effort. So I'll get there. I'll be higher at the end of the day, if I survive, if I make it to the end of the day, than I was this morning. And when I turn around in my mind and I look out, I see a greater vista and expanse beyond. I can see more of the world, although I'm beginning to forget more of the world too. My brain is starting to atrophy. Hear the siren? The horror show. Arena and utility is next. Life is an arena for the development of objectives and principles that we can use to live a better life and to build a better city. And that's how I do it, by exercising this, by spending a full 1/24 of the day today thinking about these things, as I've done today. Will help to make them part and parcel of who I am, ever at the ready as I move through the day. I need a little bit of apathy. There we go. A little bit of homunculus. Here we go. Some reason, pull it out of the air. Really, in fact, with enough practice, you don't even have to pull it out. It's just right in there. It becomes part of that integrity filter, that thing called prudence, that allows me to pass my life through the filter of my values. I have 2 more left. Nothing is enough. The writing on the rock in this, out in the desert. Just an idea that, although I'm getting rid of my stuff, no, I don't want to start off with the word although. A reminder that it's not in things that we find our peace, but in the integrity of our mind. Nothing out here is enough in the end. Not really. I mean, you can't survive on nothing, but you get the point, right? It's pushing past temperance towards a form of abstinence, a form of peace, of being able to simply sit in this chair for an hour and quietly reflect, headed towards nothing. I could use some food. The last principle is the principle of fun. A reminder to have a good time today, to look forward to good times tomorrow and plan for them, and to remember the good times of yesterday. There, that's my good life creed. 7 objectives and 32 principles with a hungry tummy. Thanks for being with me through all of those. The last thing I have to do now is to plan for the coming day. And what am I going to do today? Well, I'm going to finish this, I'll upload it, and then I'll go upstairs and I'll read the Bible. I'm reading in Hosea, however you say it. I think chapter 4 today, or maybe it's 5. And then I'll feed the dogs, walk the dogs. And when that's done, about that time my wife should be getting up. We'll plan our day, and I think we'll take a load. We'll work to dismantle more of the house today. And it's really, we have to finish all the dismantling this weekend. We have to kind of live in a bare house for the rest of the week. You can see there's a little bit, we have some stuff still. There's Yumiko's area over there. Her workstation is all set up. She'll have to keep that set up until the end. Me too. And that one dresser right there, she doesn't want to give that up. She's so funny. And then we're going to take that thing apart over there. There's the dog's toys. We have this TV. We'll leave that there. And then the kitchen, I think we'll probably take that apart too. And I have some stuff to do upstairs and get it all, stage it all in the garage, ready for the movers to come to the best of our ability, except for the big furniture. Like this sofa, we'll let them help, let them move. That's what we're paying them for. They have to make a living too. Okay. I think I'll stop for now. Thank you for making it, if any of you did, all the way to the end. 1 hour and 7 minutes. My goodness, I haven't done a long one like this in a long time. I guess that's what it says to be sitting on this nice sofa. As you can see, evidenced by the dog. That looks very comfy, huh? That's a very comfy dog. And there's another one over there. Okay. Take care. Remember to be safe, but not too safe. Bye-bye.